I'm just going to say this now. My main car I'm driving is the B58, and this B58 is in my M240i, and I'm going to admit it, I don't really like the way it sounds. Now don't get me wrong, this engine is amazing, it's got so much potential, but compared to other BMW engines, I'm not the biggest fan of it. And the worst part is, most people make it sound even worse when they try to actually fix it. And look, this isn't a hate video. If you love your BMW and you love the way it sounds, that's brilliant. But I've had my fair share of BMWs, I've owned a lot, and I've spent countless money on exhaust systems, thinking they sounded good, and in reality, looking back now, they sounded pretty awful. We're going to talk very shortly in the video about this M2, because this is where BMW nailed it. But here is a little bit of context which is needed. I used to have an M235i with the N55 engine before I stepped into a B58. And I did a lot with that car. I tuned it, custom exhaust setups, track time, Nürburgring, you name it. It's been done. And I've driven my fair share of B58 engines too. But once you have lived with these cars properly and you've not just done a pull in them, you start to hear things differently. Here's where a lot of BMW owners won't like this part. You see, they don't really care what their BMW sounds like. They just care about how people react to it. And I've had my fair share of doing this, don't get me wrong. I've driven through narrow streets with the car having some overrun burbles. I've had it done a loud bang. But here's the thing, when that's all said and done and 10 seconds have passed with all those crazy noises, you're just left with the exhaust sound. Here is the biggest lie in the car world. Everything sounds aggressive when it's cold. Cold starts, cold revs, you name it, it all sounds good. But that doesn't tell you anything about how the exhaust actually sounds when it's warm. And these cold start noises, they tell you nothing about how the car will sound under load at 3 to 5k RPM. Exhaust rasp is a very common issue on BMW cars. And the good thing about these two cars behind me is they don't suffer from this exhaust rap that so many BMW cars do. You see, exhaust rap isn't a race car sound. It's just sound that hasn't really been controlled properly. Thin metal, the wrong resonators, cheap exhaust systems, all these things stack up. And like I mentioned, neither of these cars suffer from the rasp that a lot of BMW cars do. And that is because both of these cars have the benefit of having a single turbo. Twin turbo BMW inline 6s suffer from the rasp noise, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Like I mentioned earlier, I used to have an M235i. Here's a picture of it on screen right now. And the thing with this car is, I went after loudness instead of a tone with the car. The car had a full custom exhaust system. It was stupidly loud. Here's a quick clip of it. And at the time, I loved this car. I thought it sounded amazing, but after a long time driving it, it just got very tiring. And this is where, like I mentioned on my M235i, with it being ridiculously loud, a lot of people think that loud equals better because it seems more dramatic. You get more people looking at the car, but this is simply not the case. And once you realise it, you don't have to make the same mistake that I did. You see, this B58 engine isn't a bad engine. It's just engineered completely differently to something like the N55, for example. It's stronger, it's more refined, it's smoother at power delivery, it's had massive improvements. But my guess is, when BMW were designing this B58, sound wasn't a priority. They were chasing after reliability and power with this car. The N55, on the other hand, has a delightful tone. And once you do modify the exhaust system on your B58, it doesn't really sound good. It just sounds very angry. The N55, on the other hand, it just has a more natural 6-cylinder character to it. It doesn't really need to shout, it just sounds good throughout the entire rev range of this engine, which is really nice. This OG BMW M2 behind me proves to me that BMW knew exactly what they were doing when they made this car and the sound of it. It has the most insane back box in my opinion, the best back box ever made, the M Performance one, which BMW have engineered, and it sounds like perfection. We've combined that with the 200cc Sports Cat to have that little bit of power when we come to tune it. This car, in my mind, sounds perfect. There's nothing that I would ever want to do to it to change the sound. And the best thing about this car is, it's not stupidly loud, it doesn't drone, it just sounds absolutely perfect. And we can look at this BMW M2 and we can see and hear perfection. And then we look at the B58 and it doesn't have that tone. It doesn't sound the best, and the M2 definitely wins in my opinion. And the sad thing about this M240i is, this car originally came with an M Performance back box. And the sad thing, and crazy thing to me is, the previous owner got rid of it to go for some custom route on the rear of this car. Now, why would you want to get rid of an M Performance back box? We've seen how amazing it sounds on the M2, and I would have loved to have heard it on the M240i. And this is the sad thing about custom exhaust systems now that companies are making. They're not designing them to have a nice tone anymore. They're designing them for YouTube clips, and unfortunately, Microphones, they hide the rasp of an exhaust. They show only the good and not the real life sound. And I've already mentioned that these cars don't really suffer from rasp like other BMW cars do, like the S55 or the S58 in some of the M cars. They're notoriously bad for having a raspy sounding exhaust tone. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know my mate Jay. He has an F82 M4, the S55 engine. The other day, I was getting some rollers of him on the road. And to fully understand how bad the rasp actually sounds on these twin turbocharged engines, here's a clip of the M4s on screen now. Jay was just driving normally, and then all of a sudden he got bullied out of the way by a full custom exhaust system that was on a black F82 M4. And in my opinion, it didn't really sound that good. It was so raspy and it wasn't very pleasant to the ears.
Jay has now joined us.
Just for a minute or two, I want to talk about overrun maps, or pop and bang tunes if you're in the UK, because that's what we call them. Eventually, you will grow out of them if you have one of these on your car. Now, take it from me personally, and I'm admitting to this, I used to run one, not on the B58, but on my previous BMWs and also some other cars I've owned. And I thought they were the best thing at the time. Eventually, you'll see some videos of yourself, and you'll definitely want to remove them from the internet. Because personally, natural overrun that the engine creates because of it being tuned or designed in a certain way, that sounds good. Not artificial tunes that purposely add fuel to the exhaust to cause a massive explosion. Take this M140i on screen, for example. Here's a clip that I saw on the internet, and let me know what you think to this in the comment section. Now, to me personally, I don't really think that sounds very good. It sounds super artificial, and it just sounds like something actually breaks on the car. I would much prefer a natural overrun sound that these engines make. So if you have got your car tuned for pop and bangs, I promise you eventually, maybe when you get a bit more mature or you grow up a bit, you'll definitely grow out of them. If you spent a lot of money on an exhaust system, whether it be on an M2 or an M240i, or on any BMW, it may sound absolutely terrible, but because you've spent money on that exhaust system, you're very quick to defend it, whether that be online with clips you've posted, or in person with people telling you it doesn't sound very good, but you're defending it because you bought it and you spent a lot of money. And I'm not bullying anybody here. I did the exact same. Like I mentioned with my M235i, that thing was crazy loud. And I had people actually tell me, maybe you should add a resonator. You can chase a bit more of a tone instead of it being really loud. So I can actually be on your side here because I've been in the same boat. And take it from me, I've heard a lot of BMWs, not just these two, and I'd choose a nice tone of the exhaust every day. And we could talk about this, for example, maybe with BMW's V8 that they produced in the E92 M3, one of the best sounding V8s I've ever heard in person. And sometimes they actually sound best in stock form with a completely stock exhaust system. No modified maps, no pop and bang tunes, just a pure crisp V8 noise. We can talk very quickly about this thing. This is an exhaust silencer, or a muffler. Now you might be thinking, what is this thing? Well, like I explained, it's an exhaust muffler. And if you're like me and you actually like to drive your cars on the UK tracks, then you have sound limits. These sound limits are a bit of a pain, but you have to abide by them. And when my M235i was so loud, I had to actually run these exhaust mufflers in the tailpipes to actually bring it down so that I could pass the noise limits. Now here's the actual thing which sounds a bit crazy. If you get a good tone to your exhaust, it can sometimes actually sound louder than the loudness of the actual exhaust. And that's what I want to chase with my cars. And I'm not saying my car is the best example of a track car, but track cars, they don't chase sound. They chase clarity with the exhaust noise. Most people, when they modify their car exhaust, they delete things that they probably shouldn't delete first. And they don't really understand why those parts in the exhaust system are actually there. And I was very quick to fall into this trap myself. You see, one of the first parts I removed on my M235i was the resonator. Now that car only comes with one resonator. It's very small, and when I removed it, it was very anticlimactic because it didn't make the car louder and it made it drone a little bit more on the motorway. So in reality, I kind of messed up there. And this is why it's very important to actually understand what that exhaust part does before you actually remove it. Now, if you're in the B58, for example, you need to do a downpipe in reality to chase power, so that's necessary. But removing a resonator, that can actually cause more drone and be a bit of a pain if you do a lot of highway or motorway driving. I want each viewer to take away something from this video. I'm not saying your BMW sounds bad. Stock or modified. I'm not saying the money you spent on an exhaust system is a waste of money and your car sounds bad. All I am trying to say, and I hope you take it away from this video, is I hope you can realise the potential of the exhaust system that you can have on your BMW, whether you keep it stock or whether you spend a bit of money working out the best way the exhaust system flows to get the best tone possible. You see, I'm pretty stuck with this B58, and I will admit, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't sound the best. This OG M2 has had a little bit of work done, but it's come factory with the M Performance exhaust system, which sounds unreal. And like I mentioned, I am a little bit stuck with the B58 because truthfully, I love this car. The power delivery is great. It's an amazing car, but sound-wise, I'm just gonna have to suck it up because there isn't really any type of way I can make this car good unless I do some crazy engine modifications like a single turbo, etc. On the other hand, this jacked up BMW OG M2 is one of the best sounding cars I have ever heard. And I think that is purely down to the M Performance back box combined with the N55 engine, because that engine in itself does sound amazing, even in stock form. Now, I'm not trying to make this video into a debate of which engine sounds better, because arguably, in that case, the N55 is winning. And I'm not trying to say that if you own an M4 or an M3 with the S55 or the S58 engine, that twin-turbo engine sounds bad, because it can sound raspy, but it doesn't sound horrific. And let's just envision that this M240i is an M4 and this M2 here is an M3. Let's say they've got an S55 and an S58 engine. If you want to make them sound good, you've either got to single turbo them or you've got to do a equal length exhaust system. And to get that exotic tone that those cars have, I'll put a little video on screen just so you guys can actually hear what I'm on about. If you want to obtain that sound from those engines, you have to spend crazy money. And like we heard earlier, we saw that black M4. I'm not saying that car sounds bad, but you could hear that as that car has had maybe a back box altered or the resonators removed, or it's got catless downpipes, for example, it sounds very raspy. And that's not really the tone I would want to chase if I had that car. I'm not expecting any M3 or M4 owners to go and immediately single turbo the S55 engine. That's unrealistic. But what I am saying in this video is maybe try to chase the tone of the exhaust rather than the loudness. Take it from me, I've made that personal mistake. I made my M235i ridiculously loud, and for a weekend driving or an occasional kind of sunny evening drive, it was amazing. But everyday driving, it literally made my ears ring, and it wasn't fun. So to conclude this video, if you're stuck with a B58 like me, there's not really a lot I can do to make it sound good. But if I do hop into this M2, it is the best sounding car I've ever heard, and my ears get so much enjoyment actually listening to this car compared to this one. But it's not a battle, I'm just highlighting, maybe try to chase the tone of the exhaust rather than the loudness. Because you can be like me and you might think your BMW and your exhaust system sounds good, and in reality you need to watch some footage back or get some people to tell you that it doesn't for you to actually realise the same mistake I did. Now I want to thank each and every one of you for watching today's video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you can of course let me know what you think sounds better, this OG M2 with the N55 or the B58 in the M240i. Again, it's not a debate, but I'm choosing the OG M2 every day of the week. But for now, it's time to get these cars started up and get them back in the garage. Doesn't sound too bad, I guess. Thank you all so much for watching today. If you have any comments or opinions, let me know in the comment section and I'll personally answer them. And if you want to see any more BMW content, whether that be on the M240i or the OG M2, then hit subscribe. We're trying to reach 4,000 subscribers before 2026 is here. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching today. Bye for now.